aos amigos da Web Rádio Estação da Luz. 2022 está indo embora. É tempo de traçarmos as metas para o novo ano. A felicidade terrestre é relativa à posição de cada pessoa. O que devemos buscar para sermos felizes? Meta 1. Com relação à vida material, devemos ter a posse apenas do necessário. Meta 2. Com relação à vida moral, devemos ter a consciência tranquila e fé no futuro. Livro dos Espíritos, questão 922. Embora sejam metas simples, não são fáceis de serem alcançadas, não é mesmo? Nós, da Web Rádio Estação da Luz, desejamos que você se esforce para alcançar estas metas de felicidade material e moral. Não queremos que você tenha apenas um ano novo. Desejamos que você tenha um novo ano e busque se tornar um novo ser, confiante em um futuro melhor, praticante do amor que Jesus nos ensinou. Muita paz em 2023.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this series of talks promoted by the United States Spiritist Federation every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, I am very, very happy to be here and host this talk where YASCO ARACAVA will be talking to us about humility. Humility, is it helpful trait in present times? Before we turn it over to YASCO, I would like to take a moment to do an opening prayer. So if you please, if we all close our eyes and just take a moment to connect to all that is good, connect with God, connect with our beneficent guides, the spirits of light, and be present as we receive from them the inspiration and all the blessings. May our benefactors also touch YASCO, and may all of us be indeed touched by the words of wisdom in our daily lives. So be it. So YASCO, welcome so much. I appreciate. I hope you're doing well.
Hi, Marcia. Hello. Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Yes.
Great to have you here to
Thank
talk
you
about
so much.
humility. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your words. I believe this is an incredible topic for us to talk every day, but especially in these times. And before I ask you to begin with this very important message, I would like to ask permission to formally introduce YASCO. YASCO Arakawa is a member of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, SSB. She's involved in many activities, such as children and youth activities, the outreach program. She's part of study groups. She does give lectures not only at the SSB, but also other spirit centers in Maryland. And professionally, YASCO is a biomedical researcher in the field of neuropharmacology, and she works at the University of Maryland School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland. I would like to remind everyone here today to take a moment as you listen to YASCO to send your questions to her. We will allow time for YASCO to answer your questions, your comments after she concludes her presentation. And with that, I would ask YASCO, could you please begin? Thank you so much.
Hello, Masha. Thank you so much for your warm welcoming. Yes, your introduction. I also would like to thank and all the board of the U.S. Spirits Federation with this beautiful work for the Spiritist movement in U.S. And my special thanks to Tanya Schwartz. She's being so diligent and set us up, caring about us, caring about this series of activity and others very important that the USSF is presenting to all of us. Thank you. So let me start to share. Okay. Did you see? Yes. So I thought about this topic. Humility, is it a helpful trait in present times? If this way of being humble is still applicable today, especially in times where we are struggling with the COVID pandemics, we are forced to a new, never thought lifestyle. We have to stick to some rules, recommendation, guidelines from the CDC and other institutions. So we say, in order for us to go through it successfully, not only in terms of a physical life, but emotionally, what kind of mindset would be best? And I thought would be, well, like Chico said, we have to have discipline, especially when now this discipline is now being stretched for 18 months, right? What else we need? Actually, to maintain this discipline, I thought we need to have a great deal of humility. We have to be considered, compassionate, aware of our surroundings, who are around us, who we will affect with our behavior. And leave aside, of course, all the negative habits that we've been carrying, but no big consequence. Self-entitlement, oh, I have the right to move, to go, whatever I want. Pride, selfishness. So I went back. Who will be our modern guide? Who brought so clearly to us about the power of humility? So Jesus, more than 2,000 years ago, he started his famous Sermon of the Mount with the Beatitudes, 9 Beatitudes. And the first Beatitude says, like it is in the screen, blessed are the poor in spirit. So the humble, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is in Matthew chapter 5. Well, then he kept poor, blessed are the ones that mourn, as they will be comforted. Well, who mourns is those that have sensitivity. So if I can mourn, I also be able to comfort someone that is mourning losses that we have so many nowadays. The third, blessed are the meek, as they will inherit the earth. Well, if you see the time Jesus came and the people that he was inserting, the Jewish people, well, the Jewish people, they had endured for more than 1,000 years multiple captivities, slavery outside their land or even inside their land by the occupation by other stronger empires. So how these words of Jesus in this beatitude could resonate to that people, that they could, in million years, they couldn't see how we poor, we humble, we meek could really earn the kingdom of God. That was impossible to accept because they know how harsh had been their lives. You know, being slave for 400 years in Egypt and the Babylonians taking them away, Alexander the Great, and now the Romans. So even his disciples that were close to him did not understand well Jesus' teachings. That's pretty much so that Humberto de Campos, in this book, dictated through the fantastic mediumship of Chico Xavier, Boa Nova, Good News, 1942. In chapter 11, the title is The Sermon of the Mountain. But actually, he narrates an event that happened to Levi, the tax collector that you see to the right, a Jewish publican, later becoming Matthew, the evangelist. The event that happened to him. Levi was a very wealthy tax collector, living in very comfortable residence, a mansion. So 3 unfortunate people, unfortunate means with physical disability, financial poverty, some misleading business that are, affecting them. And knocked his door. And of course, Levi at that time could not be humble, did not absorb yet the teachings of the master. So he was kind of upset. Say, well, what these guys are looking for me here. So his words were not really kind to them. So he said to the first, what can you accomplish, Lisandro, crippled as you are? Because they want to work with Jesus in this, according to the teachings of the good news. So how you crippled can you help us? And you, Aquila, abandoned by your own family under serious accusation. So he was having a relationship problem. And you, Paphos, would I build anything with your current affliction? So you are hopeless and useless to our job, to our project. That's what pretty much he's saying. And he was almost saying, name of the Lord, in name of the Jesus. So Humberto says, only then the 3 recognized their painful deficiencies. Levi's rude words had awakened them. Well, they didn't need that, right? Jesus, however, in his loving preaching, had assured that his love had actually come to seek all those found in sadness and anguish. So Levi, of course, didn't get it. So he went to join the group of the other disciples, and that would be together with Jesus that day. And he was proudly talking to other, other fishermen, other people, saying, "Am I not right? How could they help? They are so weak. They are so poor." And so the Peter, all those people said, "Poor, but we are poor too." He said, "No. But you guys are at least strong physically. You can help to construct something." So Jesus was listening to the argument, and of course, he looked very kindly to Levi, patting in his shoulder, and said, "However, Levi, we need to love and accept the precious collaboration of the losers of the world. So we losers of the world have something to give. If the gospel is the good news, how cannot it be the divine message for them, the sad and the disinherited of the man's human family? Yes, the divine message is exactly for them. The winners of the earth do not need the good news. The strong, the healthy, no. In the defeats of luck, the creatures hear louder the voice of God. Seeking the oppressed, the afflicted, and the slandered, we feel them so united in their hopes to heaven that we recognize in their calm courage a sublime reflection of our Father's presence in their spirits. They are the afflicted, they are the mirror through which we see the Father's love." That's what Humberto is saying, Jesus is saying. Have you seen any winner of the world with a higher concern than that of defending the fruits of their material victory? Yeah, they've been accumulate more and more and more, be more powerful, be more, rich, they be richer, etc. Right? They're not concerned. They're distracted with the material winning. On that glorious twilight at the lake, Jesus for the first time preached the heavenly beatitudes. His voice fell like a balm eternal over the wretched hearts. Beautiful, isn't it? So, bringing back these three first verses of the three Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, the suave, for they will inherit the earth. How impacting was to the people at Jesus' time when he, in his first public speech, proclaimed these verses and much more. How was impact to the Romans, to the Pharisees, to the publicans, to the taxpayers, to the lower class, poor, made by the poor, sick, enslaved? Well, the Romans were the rulers occupying the region, and much more. The empire reached the whole North Africa, the whole East Europe, going to Middle East, arriving up to Syria. But then you have the Pharisees, which represented the high authority, Judaic authority, Jewish authority that would hold the power, not only the religious power, the financial power, the administrative power of these people, the money, the sanitary health issues. They had all this power. Why they got this power if the place was occupied by Romans? Well, the Romans did differently compared to the other rulers. They want the peace reigning in that region. They were interested in Egypt, they were interested in Syria, so they didn't want anything between be in trouble, in turmoil. So they elect the high authority of that people, which were the Pharisees, for them to control their own people. So they didn't need to do the dirty job. And the publicans. The publicans were the Jewish that accept the work, the not so charitable work, to collect the taxes for the Roman Empire. So they were very hated by their own Jewish taxpayers. The taxpayers were the fishermen, the small farmers that would grow the fruits, some grains. But they got very rich because the Romans didn't care if they put in their pockets some percentage of what they were collecting, because they want the job to be done. So those two Jewish class were very separate from the others, right? And the poor, sick, enslaved, which was also poor because they didn't have ways from the birth. They got sick either because they could be born with this different type of sickness, skin problem, got the leprosy. They were born blind, crippled. All the enslaved, many male slaves and female prostitutes. Why? Because when the taxpayers they fail to pay the taxes, what would be the punishment? Give me your young son, strong young son, so will be my slave. Give me your young girl as my concubine or whatever, prostitute. So that in those times, a lot of those people were in this bottom line. But they were all seeking for this Messiah promised for more than 1,000 years by different prophets. They heard this, that was coming. This is special. But they thought, well, must be a king, because we'll found a kingdom for Israel people. Must be perhaps a strong commander, military commander. But not this Messiah's coming from Galilee, where they say from that region nothing comes so good. So, and I ask, how this discourse impact all of them? The poor, sick, of course, they want their healing. What you want? I want, as a blind, I want to see, Master. I want to walk if I was a cripple. If I'm a leper, I want my skin to be clean up. I want my parts to be whole again. I want to be able to walk. freely, and the slaves to be free, to not be subjected. Although the Pharisees, as a religious leader, they saw the God, although the God, it was one God, but that God was a punishing God until Jesus came. He punished those that won't follow his laws. So the Judaism was filled with strict rituals, symbolism, whatever you have to do by the law. And they believed if you are wealthy, you have power, you are in the top, is because you've been rewarded by this God that is very just. So justice was the main thing that permeated the Torah and the oral preaching. If in the other side, those that are born with some deficiency, poverty, it's because God is punishing according to the disobedience that they made. So the religious leader didn't need to care, feel sorry, because God is doing exactly what's supposed to do, and those people has to endure because it's their fault. While we deserve that. We have the merit. That was the situation. So if they start to hear now, well, it's not like you're thinking. You're not going to be inheriting the earth. You're not going to be, the kingdom of God is not for you. It's for everyone. Why is for everyone? Because on the top, Jesus said, God is our Father. Our Father. That means brothers and sisters all together in the same level at the eyes of the God. There is no difference between poor and the wealthy for God. Wow, that was not acceptable at all. It was not acceptable at all for them. So, of course, Jesus had to be put away, and they set up all the situation, the condition, the circumstance to crucify him. And the Romans let them do it because the Romans, from the beginning, they didn't want to have a dirty hands. They let the Jewish authority to deal with this problem. But Pilate washed his hands, and Jesus was crucified in a very humiliating situation. So the followers, the disciples, except for John, we all know, they all flew away, worried about that situation. But the thing changed. Changed when? 3 days after, when Jesus came, materialized beautifully, resurrect according to the other definition, to Mary Magdalene, and appear to all the disciples, appear in many different circumstances to 2 by 2, or to all 10, or to 70 or 500 in Galilee. He appeared to show, didn't I promise you that I am alive and I will be with you. I will be with you, and you will have later another consoler. My Father and I will send this new other consoler for you. So after this event and the event of magnificent mediumship manifestation that happened at Pentecost 50 days after, all the disciples and the followers had a boost of energy, faith, determination, and follow Jesus' teachings of humility, love for everyone, love for the enemy, compassion for all. And they gave, except for John, their lives in martyrdom for his name. That was in one of the last Beatitudes, actually. He says, blessed are you that take all the insult, all the persecution in my name. And they took. So the persecution of the early Christians happened, of course, more and more. Many were killed in groups in many places in Rome by Nero for 200, almost 300 years. Then, as the number of the Christians increased so much and was getting in the way of the Roman interest, the Roman Empire decided to embrace Christianity and became so a Roman Christianity, Roman Catholic. So in one side, if this embrace by the state decrease almost put the number or abolish all this persecution, in the other hand, the initial teachings, the genuine teachings of Jesus was lost, was corrupted to fulfill the interest of the state. So humility was put away, love for the others were far away, and in place they did according to what? The base was vanity, pride, excess self-entitlement. And they start so the religious war in name of Jesus, crusades, where they decide to suppress any rise of ideological religions, etc., that would crash to the Catholic Church. So they went to the Holy Land because the Islamism was growing. Then comes Inquisition, the Jewish people were the target too. But they had the Black Plague. So the Black Plague was almost like, we could not say, is like the way the divinity plays somehow with us, like the pandemics. Is the bubonic pandemic that happened in 1300s, wiped out 50% of the population from Europe to Asia, because there was a Silk Route, and they believed that through this Silk Route and the crusade, all the ships, the plague was spread, and the plague would kill in 3 days, horribly. So the Pope's authority, the church authority, start to be challenged. Where is God to save us from this horror? How you can help us? Why these things are happening to us? So with the horror of the wars, people started to be already aware that that was not what Jesus probably taught. So the church power goes down. The Protestant comes in play because they didn't like that. They want to put something in the place. And happens the rise of industrial and scientific revolution. Because the science philosophers were all kind of shut down, because if things that was found was against what the church want. We all know about the astronomy, etc., etc. And also that clean after the Black Plague, it came, of course, there's all the plan from above, the Renaissance. So all types of art, philosophy, literature, reborn. But we have the flip side of this industrial scientific revolution is the materialism. So now with all the technology, without the possibility of gaining, of accumulate goodies, material wealth, the science was developing. We have some drugs that could ease my pain. We understand things. Okay, we don't need God anymore. Religion, church, oh no. So the Western countries in Europe, they have a horror of religion and church. So they remove altogether religion, God, but the bad thing, the spirituality too. And we are paying today, 21st century, dearly the lack of spirituality that the materialism brought. So in this very narrow time frame where the church power was going down, the materialism and the rationality, the reasonings going up, in the university, all the universities were free to debate, to talk about, to say whatever they want, their opinion comes, but it's still not as strong, the technology advanced materialism as the 20th century. So in that small time frame, comes Kardec. Very well prepared in the spiritual world, a high spirit with a beautiful many past lives. And then that current life, born with certain wealth that the family could afford, a very high class education with Pestalozzi, free mind, and for we women raised by two, and having as a companionship another one, Amélie. So 3 women in his life. The grandmother, the mother, and Amélie. Why so important? Because the grandfather, the male part, the grandfather, the father, they were killed in the war. So these 2 women raised him correctly, quote unquote, and they even got the financial aid by renting his their old farm or whatever to support him in Paris. And Amélie, we all know, Boudet, we all know her contribution. So the codification came as Jesus promised to reclaim the original teaching of the gospel. God said, I will send the other consoler to remind you, to refresh your mind of all what I taught you. But this consoler is going to be with you forever. So not only this original teaching of the gospel are rescued now by the Spirit's codification, but also will be the consoler that Jesus promised. And that will stay specially supporting us during this difficult period of the planetary transition. So, what Kardec says about poor in spirit in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 7, item 3 is a small part that I excerpt. By the poor in spirit, Jesus did not mean those devoid of intelligence, but the humble. So we have intelligence, but we are humble. We are not up-nose or nose up. In as much as he said that the kingdom of heaven would be for them and not for the prideful. Because the prideful have the tendency to believe they are superior to everyone, everything else. Very frequently leads them to deny anything which might be above them. Even God, even the divinity itself, for fear it might belittle them. They don't want to look up. They want to look down because they want to be at the top. Taking the intelligence they possess as a measure of universal intelligence. So, taking the intelligence they possess, the prideful, as a measure of the universal intelligence, and judging themselves able to understand everything. So humility is not there at all, right? They are unable to believe in the likelihood that they may not know everything, right? They consider their judgment to be the law. Isn't dangerous? But we have still these things, right? Up to today. And still in chapter 7, Spirit Lacordaire, in 1863, Constantine, he put face-to-face humility and pride, because one is the opposite of the others. If one is here, the other one has no place, and vice versa. Humility is much neglected virtue among you. Oh, we all know, right? Up today, oh my God. Yeah, we don't exercise humility so easily unless we read something. The great examples that have been given to you are followed very little. Many examples, but we forgot. However, without humility, can you be charitable towards your neighbor? You know, even love is not possible without humility. I cannot exert a true love if I have a little bit of pride, a little bit of selfishness, a little bit of self-entitlement. No, my love is conditioned. It's not a true love. So, Lacordaire said, oh, no, because this sentiment, which is the humility, puts all men and women at the same level. It tells them they are brothers and sisters and that they must mutually help one another. And it leads them to the good. It's what Jesus came to say. We have the same Father. Therefore, we are brothers and sisters. We have to help each other. Pride is a terrible adversary of humility. The great ones, the prideful ones of this earth, imagine their titles and riches to be recompense conferred upon them due to their merit. I deserve it. And so consider themselves to be of an essence much purer than that of the poor. So they feel they are much better in quality. They judge that the titles and riches were due to them, so that when God took them away, when a disaster happened, downfall happened, they accused God of injustice. Why me? Why not the other? What's going on, God? That's what they say. Emmanuel, almost 100 years later, he dictates this beautiful book, Thought and Life, 24, humility. And he compares with the nature, right? Humility through divine force is magnificently manifested in all kingdoms of nature that are the exact expression of the throne of God, thus promoting renewal and progress. This picture actually is from the desert near the Israel, the Syria. And this is all dry, but a little bit moisture, a little bit rain, a little bit water. See how beautiful those flowers bloom? That's how it's nature. That's how the birds, if the storm thrown down their nest, they build up again in another tree. So how about, why not the humans? Whenever there is a lack of humility understood as when we understood how small we are before the universe. So when the humility lacks, Emmanuel says, the result is a blockage of one's feelings, leading to manifestations such as pride, covetousness, selfishness, vanity, that are responsible for discord and all sorts of delinquency. Emmanuel is very harsh to picture our future. Look at that delinquency. Not only discord at family, delinquency. Humility is not subservience. We all tend to think it's subservient. Oh, I cannot be looking humble because this other guy is going to step on me. That's what we think. No, it is primary independence and inner freedom, springing from the depth of one's spirit, sustaining its continual renewal towards goodness. So we human, the renewal, the setbacks is for our to renew and to build up our inner moral transformation towards goodness. So I ask, okay, we're looking from the religious perspective, from the spiritist perspective. How about if we don't have none of those? Is it still humility? Could humility seen as something helpful, positive, helpful psychological trait? Yes. In this book, Handbook of Humility, is a book. Worthington et al., 3 people that were the editors. Handbook of Humility Theory, Research, and Application. I made some summary to say how humility can make us feel better psychologically, physically, spiritually. Spiritually, they don't say clearly. Okay, because they allow accurate self-perception, a willingness to see ourselves truthfully. When I am humble, I take time to see myself more truthfully, honestly. An accurate perception of our place in the world. An ability to acknowledge our mistakes and limitations. The Spiritism is very good because it keeps saying from the beginning, we are imperfect. Doesn't matter if we just don't make the same mistake over again. Mistakes are steps for us to learn, but not to step in the same hole. Humility allows modest self-portrayal. Humility is an attitude of spiritual modesty that comes from understand our place in the larger order of things. We are all parts of structures that are larger than ourselves, even in couples. 2 people, it's me and somebody else, 50-50. Families, we have to divide. We have all our small contribution, but not rule alone. Communities, nations, the organization for which we work, and the human species. In human species, and then if we put all the other kingdom, we have to portray ourselves how much dependent we are as a species to other species. If there is no pollination by the bees, if there is no such a thing from in the depth of ocean, in the roots of the forest, we're doomed, right? Humility fosters better learners and problem solvers. Those are for people that are in business, in the university, workplace, creating something with a work group. Humility is directly related to our ability and willingness to learn. Even when you are the CEO, we can learn from anyone and everything at all times. We can learn from friends and family, from our children, and people who master specific skills. Oh, I can tell you, these things of technology, diverse platform, oh my God, my little student, the children there can just help right that. And me struggling. Positive psychology, humility is also related to a general increase in positive emotions. Fostering self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is very important. Don't try to condemn ourselves forever. Feeling guilty, less stress, fewer negative experience, fewer depression, fewer panic attack, fewer phobia, fewer anxiety, resulting in better mental and physical health. Other-oriented relational strengths. Humility strengthens social functions and bounds and promotes our engagement in pro-social behavior and in effective leadership. We have to be able to relate to others in a very gracious, positive way. Humility is associated with xenophilia, an attraction to foreign cultures, diminishing instance of fear and hatred of foreigners, which is the xenophobia that is going on pretty much in our days, right? But there are also important things in our time where the family values are kind of denied. We have these genders, racial clashes, a lot of drug addiction, suicide rates, so much unhappiness going on. So all humility, it seems to be permeate on these issues. In this book too, they say real-life examples of humility and their legacy to humanity. So of course, these 3 major people, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Madre Teresa de Calcutta, all dedicate their efforts and time to serving their ideals and tirelessly working to improve the living conditions for other people, for their nation. They liberate their nation from the ruler from the European rulers, and humbly served not to their egos, but to a greater external endeavor. Mother Teresa, HIV, she was pretty much involved in saving them, and they trained many young people to follow her steps. What a legacy, right? How about the opposite? Example of people lacking in humility. I didn't dare to put a face there, so each one of us can put the one that suited best from this description. Defined by narcissistic entitlement with a vastly inflated sense of talent. Oh, I know better than you. I know how to do it. Yes. Self-absorption, high emotional reactivity, a desire to dominate, a tendency towards sexual harassment, prejudice, bullying, vengefulness. Oh my God, is there something else worse than that? All of these traits are negatively correlated with humility. Rather than admitting their errors, these type of persons seeks to demolish the reputation of their competitors. They want to put it down, the competitors, by damaging their reputation, their family settings, mercilessly. So, there are some exercise for fostering humility, and I see these two. I love these two, Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, when they got together. They are so humorous. They laugh so much. Humor is a powerful tool. We can all benefit from laughing more about ourselves and our imperfection. It feels good to say, well, sometimes I think I'm not, normal, something. We laugh. Why did I make this mistake? It's good to put our pride aside. So the exercise is, of course, it has to go through gratitude and appreciation. Those that cannot appreciate, cannot be grateful, it's very difficult life. So gratitude and appreciation invites us to value our important relationship with others. It encourages us to think about the people who have influenced us most positively in our lives. A teacher, a neighbor, a cousin, an aunt. Truly appreciate their contribution and articulate our gratitude. Sending a note, something like that. Increasing awareness of complaining. We sometimes don't realize how much we are complaining. And complaining is the opposite of gratitude, is excess self-entitlement. We think I deserve, I have the right. No gratitude. Acknowledge 3 blessings each day. Let's do that. Write down 3 things that went well and reflect on these things that at the end of the day. Well, that almost accident didn't happen. And almost spill of the coffee that happened. The almost, it's how many things that didn't happen to us. Like Joanna says, the bad thing that happened to us also was a positive thing. And plus the positive, oh, well, that word that my colleague just exchanged with him just made me feel better. Something like that. Little gratitude habits include a list of small but significant habits that aim to generate more grateful mindset. A smile of good morning when you say good morning. Hi. Thank you. Are small, and people, they are nourished so much when you look at their eyes and say hello, every morning. Nature has curative powers. Yeah, we have to look at nature. Nature gives correct sense of our self-importance and of all by looking out the sea, touching the ancient trunks of towering tree, or viewing the waterfall, fast-flowing river, still deep ponds. All this visual could take us to the meditative state of mind and can cure us, both mind and physical. We all know that, right? So you see that we are invited to exercise humility in our days. We are the ones that will construct the world of regeneration. It's not the planet, it's us. The planet, the condition of the planet is a consequence of the act of from each one of us. No? We, in exercise humility, we have to leave aside slowly the self-entitlement, pride, and start to see the others that are around us. Pay attention. Be compassionate, mindful. That's our exercise. And we need so much in this time where so much of the unhappiness is going on. Viktor Frankl said that in his logotherapy, we have to have purpose in life in order to keep enduring, to have our resilience. That was his experience from the Holocaust. Joanna says, existential emptiness, it can be very dangerous to set up the condition for many mental disorders, depression, that leads to suicide. So Spiritism has all the tools, all the best tools for that, in my opinion. And I think in the spirit movement all over the world, we have this important task to fulfill and to initiate and to be of more help, having our healing power set up during the passes, fraternal conversation. We need to clean up ourselves, our inner selves, and follow the Christ promise. I'll send you another consoler that will be with you forever and will teach you, will remind you all of I said to you and much more, because today you don't know, you are unable to grasp new things, but you will 1800 years later, right? We know. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yasko. Wow, who could have thought the impact of humility or lack of it in our lives? Thank you for such an enlightening talk and the call to action to exercise humility. So we are now open for comments and questions from the audience. And I have a question. Yasko, thank you for discussing humility in a historical light. Can you tell us more about the lessons we should have learned? For example, are we emotionally equipped to go through our future in the planetary transition?
Well, dear Marcia, the history says that we didn't learn much from the last earlier pandemics. Of course, this is too pessimistic. From the Black Plague, of course, it came out something positive. The church, the heavy ruling of the church, unfair ruling, the Renaissance. But more modern, the Spanish flu that is pretty much close to what we have the COVID. Just at that time, 1918, we didn't have the medical resource, the scientific advancement to stop now that we almost, at least in the United States, almost get rid of in 18 months. But that flu lasted 3 years and killed 30, 50 times more, in which lower number of population, imagine. And if you look at the Spanish Spanish flu pandemic, it was exact between two great wars. The first war had just finished. We had the pandemics, and we start another war. So what did I learn? What was learned? The same generation could almost face these three events. At least they could hear from their mothers, and they pass to the children. So it seems we didn't learn, but to the eyes of God, probably we learned. They are patient. Time is not the issue. So what I expect with this pandemic, it is very bad because we are in this turmoil of the transition. But I feel this technology, exactly this technology of sharing, allowing us to share, that we have been sharing not good stuff, we can start to share as the spirit movement in Brazil, here, and all over the Europe, that using this technology to spread the good news, to spread the spiritist tools. So imagine that people can listen through the cell phone a good talk. They don't need to be worried, oh, I have to travel, I have to go to the spirit center, I belong to the evangelical church, what they're gonna say if they see me going there, how about my husband or my wife that they have different religion. No, you can put the earphone and just. So we hope that we did, and we're still doing a good job spreading the spiritist concept, the spiritist hope. And that because we are suffering so much with all this depression, mental issue, that people come to look back to spirituality, to look for spirituality. If it's not God, if it's not church, at least for spirituality. Because without that, in this crucial moment, that we are in such a painful mode, suffering, you only think to jump the building.
Yeah.
So we hope that knowledge is powerful, and the only thing we ask that we deliver this knowledge with kindness in the correct mode, with the correct words, not in a rush. Giving our ear first, kindness, and then when the time comes, offer more knowledge.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's see if we have another questions, and we do. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel is asking, what do you think about those who says that in nature only the stronger will survive, and that actually being too humble will be soon crashed?
Well, we are thinking nature only physical way, right? What we see externally, the trunk, the tree, our body, but we are not that, right? The tree has all the parts that is down the earth, that after the storm, that serves as a boost of nutrients. After volcanic eruption, that land after millennia becomes is a different land. It aggregates some new nutrition, some new type of material there. And so we are spirits, immortal spirits. We don't have just this one life that I need to have a strong physical body. The best of mental set. We don't know why we have this deficiency. It's exactly to strain our spirit, our moral traits, which it matters in the end. So let's not see ourselves in this very narrow frame of physical life, physical corporeal life.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's see if we have another question. And from the U.S. Spiritist Federation page, we have the question, pride, the opposite of humility, is used by many in a positive way. For example, being proud of some personal achievement of a child, etc. Can you, Yasko, discuss if there's any positive aspect of pride, or do we lack a better word to define it?
No doubt about it. Very good question, because in the process of diminish or put a negative force in one word like pride, we forget that pride has all the nuances with the same word, because we don't have different word for that. We should have positive pride, negative pride. The pride that smashes someone, doesn't allow anyone to grow, and the pride that boosts the self-esteem to grow. This always balance. It's a balance. There is whole scale in between the very extreme negative one and the one that's too much, sometimes saying, oh, you're so beautiful, you so that, you so that. Well, the world won't say to you all the time, you're beautiful. Also, we have to be, our child has to be aware. The world won't accept always, won't worship you always, right? So in the correct level, the parents has to be educated, our educators have to be educated in order to deliver the correct amount of boost. And pride, the positive pride, is a beautiful boost for our self-esteem to construct a child, because the opposite, a child that is always smashed, you no value, you useless, you that. You see what adult we are constructing, right? So every time I see those incarcerated people, usually poor, generations in generation they are incarcerated, I said, poor. There is no change for them, because they've been grown up in that same environment of drug addiction, of incarceration, of abuse, physical, mental abuse. A child that sees, a mother being beaten up, old sister to be abused, all these things. What kind of adult? So we know that this lack of good environment, positive environment, including this positive pride, is very important to really allow all the neurons, all the synapses, the good associative neurons in the prefrontal cortex that is responsible for us to develop the ethics, the compassion for the others, the self-esteem. This is part that grows much later. It grows, they say, up to 25 years old. That's why we should not make any big decision for signing up some marriage contract before how the prefrontal cortex is fully developed, right? So, yeah, so, we all know that. So how could we say, well, you is useless? You are a criminal. Well, ask how was his infance, her adolescence,
Very good point. Thank you. Thank you, Yasko. We have another question. We understand there were earlier pandemics. What did we miss? What could we have learned? As we come to a close to the current pandemic, how to ensure we don't miss this opportunity to learn?
Very true. Thank you. Yes, I think like the last pandemic, the Spanish flu, much closer to us, 1918. We were in the top of the materialism, the technology advancement. Our mind was set to smash others using nuclear arsenal, aircraft, whatever it is that technology could be given to us in order to conquer the others. So we are in the height of this, and we still are. We are still in 21st century. I just wonder how the G8, G7 group would analyze when you say the earth will be inherited by the meek, not by them, not by the superpower, not by the G7, G8, whatever it is, not by those that have the biggest corporation, the biggest stockhold, the corporation that can smash the small business, and they enslave them because of the lower cost of the labor. They don't care because it's done, I don't know, in some corner of the world that is not in my country. But yes, I have my iPhone that it wants to be, if it's a little cheaper, done in some other place, why not? A little, the purse, the handbags, the shoes, whatever. So it was in the height, and we hope we're going already downhill in terms of materialism, because materialism did not give the happiness that we thought we would have it. All the consumption, all the goodies did not bring and did not prevent the mental disease, mental disturbance, suicide rate that is very, very high in those places where the lifestyle is so high, materialistic speaking. So how these things is happening? So I hope this is already, we are in a couple of decades already aware of this. Something has to be done. Otherwise, our children, our adolescents will keep killing themselves. So spirituality has to be brought to the table as quickly as possible. Like they say, Spiritism has to fight the materialism. But that materialism that is excessive not the one that is positive, that is the competition that boosts innovation. We need that. We cannot stuck without innovation. That is part also of God's will, but not to the point. I don't know why materialism and spiritualism as a person, it cannot go together. Why I have to dismiss one and only consuming and seek for happiness in those things? I don't understand. It's not answering. It's not answering all the problems that we have in our family, So I think we hope we are in a different stage of materialist technology in our lives. So we hope we have a window to work with.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yasko. Lots of food for thought from this discussion, these questions. And let me see if we don't have any additional questions for now. Awesome.
Hi,
We have
Tanya.
some words of some words of thanks. Thank you, Tanya. And I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you. And wow, thank you, Yasko. Thanks everyone who is here today that watched this live talk, and all of you who have been following us on our weekly talks. And just remember, next Saturday, which is July 10th, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Please don't miss Marcos Magalhães. He will be speaking from Canada, and the topic of his talk is spiritual and physical pathogenesis of disease. Yasko, I would like for you to please close our live talk today with a prayer. Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So let's concentrate our thought, boost the best of our energy, the best of our emotion, sentiments in our heart. Leave aside the worries, the negativity, and raise our thought, our mind to the Almighty Creator, our Master Jesus, all our mentors that have been following us, each one of us for so many incarnations, diligently watching our steps, giving us inspiration, especially in moments of great decision, especially in moments of sorrow, struggles, losses. Thank you for being with us all the time. Even times when we are so distracted, we feeling our faith is going down. You're there, saying, we are all here. Raise your thought. You will sense us. You will feel us. So we are so grateful for all these opportunities given in this incarnation and the previous one and the following ones that will be granted to all of us out of merciful God. I thank you this especially the chance to have met, to have learned the gospel of Jesus, to have learned or been touched in process of learning Spiritism, and having all these wonderful colleagues, friends, working with the same noble purpose, such as to build a healthy inner moral sentiments and being, and also in the process to deliver the best we can, the best of our energy during the passes, during the fortuitous encounter with people, colleagues, family members, that we are continue to be blessed and be always grateful for all we have gotten. Thank you, God, and so be it.